everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little get ready with me, do my makeup with me while we talk about things I wish I knew in my teenage years. For reference, I've just turned 22 literally a week ago today. I've always felt like I've been quite emotionally mature for my age, but it doesn't mean that I haven't let my emotions get in the way of a lot of things. And like I do look back, regret's not the right word, but I do look back and wish I did things and like simple outlooks weren't said to me that would have changed my perspective on stuff. And I'm like, if someone had told me that, my life probably would be so different right now. And I just thought I'd share some of that with you and hope that it resonates with someone. I actually film me doing my makeup quite a lot for my TikTok and stuff, but it's very rarely that I actually sit and talk through it and talk about something, because when it's on TikTok, sometimes I feel like people just don't care. Like, people are not going to care if I talk through about something. TikToks, although they're making longer features, I feel like TikTok is still for short form content, which is absolutely fine, but I'm like, I've got a YouTube channel, I might as well use that to do my long form content. Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. I don't know why I put off buying this for so long. It's the best thing ever, worth the money. The vibe that I always do with my makeup is lightweight, light to medium coverage. I like to cover the bags under my eyes, but I don't like big heavy coverage because I've got a lot of freckles, so I like them to still be visible. But I feel like with Flawless Filter it just makes my face a nice colour rather than being really pale, even though I've got like barely any fake tan on right now. But my first point would be, it is okay to have hobbies. And I don't know if this was just my school, but it was almost seen as weird to have a hobby, unless you were one of like the cool girls and it was like you could get away with having a hobby. But it's like, if one of the cool girls did, I don't know, was in a book club, they'd be like, oh my god, that's really cool. But if one of like the less popular girls would have been in a book club, they would have had the piss taken out of them. And it's like, make that make sense. When I'm talking about some of this stuff, I'm going to talk about it is in like the late teens section, because it's so hard and everyone's school is so different and everyone's confidence levels are so different and everyone's environments are so different in those like secondary school years. So I'm going to kind of talk 18, like think like 18 to 20. But I wish I had a hobby. Like, I thought hobbies were uncool, so I didn't have any hobbies. And it's like, I used to do singing my whole life when I was younger, and I just completely stopped because I was like, oh, it's really uncool to do singing. Whereas now, like, my mum would always go on about me, like, why don't you go and write some songs? Why don't you like learn the piano? Why don't you do this? And like, now I'm like, oh my god, I really want to learn the piano and I want to write songs. And I'm like, why didn't I do that sooner? Like, I'm obsessed with reading now, but I stopped reading when I was younger because I was like, it's uncool. And it's like, no, it isn't. Having a hobby and having a creative outlet, I feel like has changed my life in these past 6 months to a year. By like having a hobby or having a creative outlet, it kind of, I find inspiration in little day-to-day things, and I think, oh, I can write about that, I can draw about that, I can make a video about that, X, Y, and Z. Like, having little hobbies and having little creative outlets helps your mind, I don't know, it just opens your mind up big time. And it helps you think outside the box with your hobbies, because again, you'll just get inspiration from like day-to-day stuff. It will get to a point, once you are in your 20s, it will get to a point where there'll be one day where everything you know will just flip on its head. You'll think fitting in is the most important thing to do, and it's really scary if you don't fit in. Whereas now I'm like, why am I so bothered about wearing the exact same jeans that everyone's wearing? Like, when I was younger, everyone was wearing Topshop Jamie jeans or like Topshop Joni jeans. I had even like a different pair, like that was horrifying. Whereas now it's like, I don't want the same ones that everyone's wearing. And I wish I'd got ahead of myself on that. Like, I wish I snapped out of that headspace a lot sooner. Like, I have gone up to work now and I work in London. I'm like the odd one out because I don't have my own kind of sense of style yet. Like, I've suddenly come up to London like, what is my style? What is the way I like to dress? What's the way I like to kind of do my appearance? And it's like, because I've been so used to just following the crowd, I'm suddenly in this big pool where everyone's so individual and so cool that I'm like, I'm suddenly the odd one out for not being unique. I don't know. If you have got the confidence to be unique at a younger age, A, hats off, because like it's so hard to like stay true to yourself in those years, but B, like that's so good, like stick to it. Don't let people make you feel like there's something wrong with that, because there isn't. At this age, I wish I stood out more rather than fitting in. I never ever ever would have thought that I'd say that. I just used the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer, I think it's called, just like the original NARS one. Another thing I wish I knew is that it's okay to not be doing what all your friends were doing when it comes to boys, like, or like obviously vice versa, whatever, whoever's watching this, but like I was really good in not giving into peer pressure to a certain extent, but like you'd still have people at school be like, oh my god, just say Bridget because you didn't do this with this person, and I'm like, I was fucking 15, like I was a very self-conscious girl. Go for it. The girls that aren't and were happy to do whatever, like good for you, but it's like it's okay to not give in to the peer pressure, and that is something that I really really wish I knew. And I think even if someone had said it, I almost had the fear that someone was going to take the mick out of me about it. Try and just ignore the pressures of it all, because it's like I look back now and I'm like, I regret that, and I regret that, and I regret that. Yeah, I don't know, it's a tricky one. I think as well it's important to remember people are only reacting a certain way to you because of stuff that's going on in their life. Like, someone's being mean to you, or if someone's taking the mick out of something, really, they are 9 times out of 10 are jealous. Like, I remember, like when I was younger, I can't even remember what I used to get taken the piss out for, when this was like primary school. And like 10 years later, this girl came up to me, she was like, I'm so sorry that I was so mean to you back in school. And I was like, oh, it's okay, like, it's fine, that was years ago now. She was like, it's because, and it, like, she was drunk when she said this, and I like, because that's quite a big thing to admit, but she was like, I was just really jealous of you at school. And I was like, oh, okay, like, didn't, like, would not have thought that. And I was like, what, really? She was like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that, everything that people would say, like, you know when your mum would always be like, oh, it's just because they're jealous, and you're like, no, they're not, what have they got to be jealous about? And it turns out, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe they actually were, and it might be for something that you wouldn't even think people would be jealous about. I remember again at school, when I was in secondary school, someone told me I looked like a monkey because I had braces on, and it like, because it made like my lips, I don't know, I can't even remember. I think it was because I managed to get braces on the NHS and they didn't. And it was literally something as silly as that. And I remember it was literally sat in drama class and I was like, you look like a fucking monkey. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm gonna have straight teeth. Like, what? I don't get how that's an insult. And like, I'd never then be horrible about her teeth, but it's like, it's such a strange thing to be mean to someone about, like, because they're getting braces. It's important as well to realise, like, although you think something is a really big deal at the time, and it might be a big decision, the world isn't gonna end. Like, I left college, so I was in a very dark place at that age, at 17. And I was like, oh my god, what the fuck am I gonna do? All my friends are at college, all my friends are gonna be going to uni, and there's just little old me that hasn't even got any BTECs or A-levels or anything. It's like, I've literally turned out fine. My friends have graduated uni and I'm on the exact same level as them, as if I'd gone to uni, but I was a lash tech for 4 years. And they've got a degree. Like, that's not dissing them having a degree at all, because it's helping them in their career. Whereas my path, I didn't necessarily need a degree for it. But it's like, everything will work out. If you want something bad enough, obviously you have to deal with the circumstances that's going on. I was able to use like my own socials as a bit of like a portfolio / experience on my CV. On a side note from that, it is so important. Uni isn't everything. If you want to go to uni, then like, I am so proud of you. That is incredible. Like, hats off to people doing degrees, because really I couldn't do it. But for the people that are getting really overwhelmed and are being told that's the only career path, I'm literally telling you, there is so many ways around it. It isn't for everyone. Like, financially, that's a whole other kettle of fish, if that's the saying, but there is so many things that you can do and so many ways to get there. Please don't ever feel trapped and feel like you have to go to uni, or that you have to do something because there's A, so many other ways of getting there, B, so many other career paths compared to what you even thought was available. I don't know. It's just like, just do as much research and explore as much as you can and try out as many different things as you can. A kind of not controversial, but I do usually like to think that everything happens for a reason. But I was watching Alison Beer's Call Her Daddy episode, and she was like, I don't like to think that everything happens for a reason, because just because I turned out okay from certain situations doesn't mean I deserved it. And I agree with that. I think the optimist in me is like, it's easier when you're in the moment. Once you've come out of it, it's okay to say I didn't deserve that and I shouldn't have had to go through that. But in the moment, I feel like it never hurts to be optimistic. It never hurts to see the good in a situation. I do like to think everything happens for a reason. Like, I didn't get certain jobs, and now I'm like, well, I'm really, really glad I didn't get that job, because my life worked out in my favour and it's going a certain way. Like, just try and see the good in it, try and see the positives. If it's not worked out, whether you're religious, spiritual or not, I just like to think that there is always someone out there that is working things in your favour, and you've just got to trust the process, as hard as that is. And like, catch me next week in a video being like, oh my god, this is so shit. Like, I don't know. But when you are able to see the positive, please do try and see the positive. I know I was so upset when there was this job I wanted to get at this big newspaper in London when I think I was like freshly 18. And yeah, it must have been, because I had an email saying it was like 4 years ago and I was still on their database, and they were like, do you want to stay on the database? I was like, no. But it's like, that is not what I'd want to be doing. So, and if I'd have gone into that, would I have then felt trapped to stay doing stuff with newspapers when that's not really what I'm interested in? Same with a graphic design apprenticeship. I was literally final stages of that, didn't get it, and I was like, why? Like, I really, really wanted it, and it's fine. Moved on, and I've got a job that's more suited to me, and it works well for me, and yeah. Same with relationships and friendships. For the people that are super social butterflies that hate spending time on their own, I think it's really important that you do spend time on your own and really get to know yourself. When I was younger, I've always been a bit of a, not even an introvert. If I'm comfortable with you, I don't shut up, and I can probably be quite irritating, but I'm a home girl. Like, I love being at home, I love being on my own. But I think I used to feel, oh my god, my camera's about to die. I used to feel guilty for that, or like I used to feel weird for liking being on my own. But being 22, I feel like that's the best thing I could have done. I know myself, I know my triggers, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, I know what I want to work on. I just know way more about myself than I feel like other people do, which is a good thing. And like, I almost feel bad for ever previously thinking that it was bad to want to spend time on my own. Okay, I had to just change my camera battery because I still haven't figured out how to make these camera batteries last longer, and the answer would probably be buy some new camera batteries, but for some reason my head doesn't think that far in advance. Oh my god, interlude. I think I'm gonna start a podcast. This has been my revolution of the morning, and I've been planning it, and I've been like trying to figure out how the fuck I'd make it work. But guys, I actually think I'm gonna start a podcast. Would we like that? Is that something, where's my brow pencil? Like, would we like that? Is that something we'd be interested in? Is that something you'd watch? I think I'd find a way. I'd do it so that I do it on my YouTube, like upload the episodes on my YouTube and then obviously have it on Spotify and Apple. But that is just like a dream come true for me if I do start doing that. And I don't know. I feel like it would just be so much fun because it's a bit more like longer form content, I guess. So I can just ramble a bit longer in case anyone was wanting any more ramble from me. Yeah, I really want to do it. So maybe I will. Is that weird? No, not weird, but like, would you guys want that? And if so, give me like podcast episode ideas and like name suggestions and stuff, because I've got some good name ideas, but I don't know, it makes me so excited. Am I making myself, like, am I going to exhaust myself? Probably, but anyway, it's worth it. My next thing I want to talk about, I think it's important to always try and be the nicest and the kindest person in a situation. If people want to think that you're a pushover, let them. You know you're not. You know that you're just trying to keep the peace. Like, it's not worth your time and energy and headspace to like lower yourself to certain standards to give them the reaction they're wanting. And it's like, because we're so set and like sure in our ways, we're not gonna sink down to meet other people's ways. Like, I don't think I've ever had a full-on like row with someone, like shouting row, because that's just not how I roll. I'm not an arguments type of girl. I'd rather know like why someone's done that to me. Like, I want to know the backstory. I don't want to have this big explosive argument, because realistically I'm just gonna cry. Like, I don't care for this like, oh my god, you fucking bitch. Like, don't get me wrong, I can be dramatic about certain things, but when it comes to like disagreements, just try and be the bigger person, because it's better for your like soul. They're never going to be at peace because they're always wanting this big explosive reaction. I'm like, I don't have the energy for that. Like, I've got energy, not for that. Like, I've got a limit. I'm a limited source of energy. I'm not spending it on that. Write it in my journal. Also, oh my god, that, how have I not spoken about that? Get a fucking notebook, get a journal, write your head out, because at the minute, it's like, whenever I'm journaling, I actually feel like really angry after, but I feel like that's because there's like it must be like hidden somewhere, and like I must be secretly angry about something. Well, I know what's obviously going on and I know why I feel like that, but for some reason it just comes out when I'm journaling. I need to take this advice on myself. Like, instead of just ignoring that I feel this way, I need to journal through it. And like, when I start to feel angry, keep writing. Don't just shut my book in anger and be like, oh, fuck's sake. Because I am in a bit of a rush, I'm just going to do some quick fire tips. It's okay if not everyone likes you, because realistically you're not going to like everyone. So that, like, it doesn't mean you hate the person, it just means that you're not going to be besties, and that's okay. Like I mentioned earlier, you do know yourself really well, and you know your morals, you know what you're like, you know who you are as a person. Like, don't ignore that. Like, I've been in situations recently where I like nearly went against my morals in a situation. I was gonna be in a situation where it didn't feel right, and I so nearly did it because it was like this big thing riding on it. And I was like, no, that's not me. That doesn't feel right. Trust your gut and don't question your morals. Your morals are there for a reason, and your morals aren't a bad thing. Like, I mean, unless you've got really shit morals, then get your morals right. But if you've got really good morals, don't let people make you feel like your morals aren't like are too much, because it's like, no, your morals are there to like keep you being a good person. Rosie, get out my shopping bags. Don't defy your morals, because you're just gonna hate yourself for it after. Your family, if you've got a good relationship with them, like, treasure them, because they're not going to be here forever. And get off your phone when you're around your grandparents, because obviously that's dependent on your certain relationships with them, but in my experience, get off your phone in front of your grandparents, because they're not going to be here forever. Like, the amount of times, like, I was never like rude on my phone in front of my nan, but she's not here anymore, and I know that I definitely did used to go on my phone around her. It's like all that extra time I could have had. It's okay if you don't have a really big friendship group, because even to this day I know so many people that are in their like bitchy schoolgirl phase, and some people just never grow out of that. And it's better to have a smaller number of genuine people around you than this big group that don't actually like each other, because that's not genuine friendship. Again, it depends how strong your morals are, but for me, if I'm like, no, that goes against my morals, then I can't have, like, that goes against my morals. I don't really want to be around people that are going to make me go against what's like ingrained in me. And like, don't be surprised when you do something that requires like support from people around you. That's going to be like a massive eye-opener. Yeah, you're going to get some people really surprise you. For me, I feel like a lot of these are friend-based, but I feel like the main issues I've had in my teen years were to do with friends. So, like, obviously I'm not handing the blame completely over to other people, because obviously I've done things wrong in my life, but it's like, I know that I'm a good friend, and I know that I don't want to just like stoop to a level to have a bigger circle around me. Like, if other people want to do that, let them. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you just because you don't want to part with that. You will go through a phase, probably, unless you are lucky and learn self-love really early on, but there will probably be a phase where you want to change everything about yourself, and it will get to a point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I literally don't recognise that person. And that's okay, because I feel like everyone goes on that roller coaster. All these changes you make are reversible, and if they're not reversible, then as long as you think about them for a very fucking long time. I'm like the last person to judge anything about people getting anything done, like, but just do your research. Don't just go with the cheapest person, because they'll be cheap for a reason. Oh my god, how I haven't said this one yet. One of the biggest ones, and one that I still haven't mastered, but like, if you're about to go into one of these like deep holes of like comparing yourself, let this be your little sign. Sorry, my hair's looked so ratchet in this. Let this be your little sign to snap out of it, because we're all gonna go into that little rabbit hole every now and again, like I do most days. This is just like me slowly pulling you out of one and being like, nope, not today. It's obviously gonna happen again, but this is my little reminder to today not to let comparison like bring you down. Everyone's different, everyone's unique, and that's okay. Everyone, like, there's not room. If everyone was the same, there wouldn't be room for everyone. But because we're all different, there is space. So yes, that is my kind of more casual vibes of things I wish I knew in my teen years, my late teen years. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to me ramble, watching me do my makeup. If I forgot to mention any specific names of products, let me know which one you'd like the name of, and I can let you know in the comments. If you have any other ideas for me or potential podcast episode ideas, then please let me know. I hope you're all having a lovely Sunday, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, whenever you're watching this. And if you did enjoy it, please go and check out my other socials. I'm most active on my TikTok, but they're always linked or tagged in the description. But yes, thank you again for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.